Wow, good evening and welcome once again to the Woke Africa show. My name is Ejewa and I'm happy to come to you again with tonight's section. Now, so important for me to talk about bridging the relationship gap between African Americans and Africans. Um, um, I'm looking at dealing with in terms of cultural differences, in terms of you know, understanding each other's past, our present, and how we can forge a way ahead together. So um, this channel is about conversation. This channel is about conversation. So that's why you know I think I should be doing more of the you know live chats so that I can connect with you better. I can start talking to you about things that you know we want to understand and we want to talk about. So if you're on it, if you're in the house, you can say so, you can type something, you say something, and I can acknowledge your presence, and then I would also encourage you to invite if you're an African in the diaspora and you have a friend or a family member who would be interested to know about Africa and also to have me answer questions. Hey, I'm available. You can call them to join in the conversation. You can send them the link to join in the conversation, and you can get them to subscribe to the channel. Once again, my name is Lily Ejewa Iwua. Um, I'm from Ghana, and hey, I'm a Sunday born. So in Ghana, in my culture, when you're born on Sunday, your name is Akusia. Monday is Kojo. Tuesday is Kwabena. Wednesday is Quick. Wait. Monday is okay. Monday is Kojo for boys, and then Ajua for girls. Tuesday is um Abina for girls, and then Kwabena for for boys. Wednesday is Kweku for boys, and Ikua for girls, and then Thursday is Yao for boys and Ya for girls. Friday is Kofi for boys and Ifia for girls. So my daughter was born on Friday. So you can confidently call her Nana Ifia. Nana means your Nana is a title given to royals in our traditional system. So Nana Ifia, you can call her that. Yeah. So, if you know of anyone who wants to have this conversation, well, come on, get them involved and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so in terms of cultural differences, and especially I want to talk to those who wants to come to Africa or come to Ghana and experience the culture and reconnect to your roots. Well, I think what you have to do is try to understand that there's this cultural difference between us because of how far apart that the slave trade and slavery and colonization has done to us. So we kind of a bit apart in terms of culture, and those are some of the things that you should be willing to learn about. Um, hey, I'd like to know who's online. You can send me a hi, and I would acknowledge you. Sorry. Said I want to talk about the cultural differences. So, okay, hello. So I want to talk about the cultural differences, the differences between our cultures. For example, if you want to talk about marriage, how does one go about? So from okay, let's take it from the top. From childbirth to marriage to death and burial. So we have one, when a child is born, the kind of rites that we do in Africa to welcome the child into this world. And then two, um, we have the puberty stage. We have the puberty stage where adult girls are initiated into, like, teenage girls are initiated into puberty. Um, initiated into adulthood. Sorry, that is the transition. And then we also have um, the marriage rights. The marriage rights. So when you are getting married, there's certain traditional, you know, uh, let's say processes that you have to go through to get married. And then finally, the funeral rites. When you die, there's, it's different from culture to culture. So the different types of funeral rites that we perform. So let me start with the childbirth and naming. So when a child is born, hi Terence, it's good to see you again. Yay! Hi, good evening. So when a child is born, um, first of all, the mother stays in the house with a child inside indoors. The mother stays indoors with the child until the seventh day, because it is believed that before the seventh day, anything can cause the child to return from where he or she came from. So they keep the child indoors and protect the child within 7 days. In the olden days, people believed that there was witchcraft and people could be bewitched and all that. Babies could be bewitched. So they'll keep the child indoors for 7 days, and after the 7 days, they'll bring the child out so that the people can come and see the child and view, um, um, you know, see the child, and then also be able to see the mother and the entire family and the entire family. So, um, Kylie, Kylie, I'm doing sit down, okay? No, 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 sit down. Thank you. Okay, so then, okay, okay. So then after 7 days, after, that was my daughter. Okay, after 7 days, Kylie, go inside. Go inside. Go, 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 go. So after 7 days, I'm so sorry about that. That's my daughter. She wants to come and see what we're doing here. Yeah, my. So after 7 days, sorry about that, 7 days. So that's when they do the naming ceremony. So the family comes together, the mother, the parents, the mother, the father, the family members, aunties, they come together, and then they pour libation and call upon their ancestors to come and bless the child. And outside, friends, families will come in and support the child at the ceremony with gifts and presents and all that. And then they would have this derba after 7 days to kind of like name the child. So the father, hello, hi Auntie. So the father is going to be the one to come up with the name of a child. So in Akan traditional culture, it's the father that names the child. So it doesn't matter if you're African, if you're African American, if you marry. Hi, Terence. Okay, so Terence says a guy from Ghana said they don't name a child until the 8th day in case it dies, the child was never here. Yeah, I mean, yes. It's part of the some there's this cultural belief that from day one till day seven, the child can naturally return if they do not want to live. And I think those kind of beliefs, personally, I think came about because of medical complications that didn't have explanation at the time, which became part of cultural belief. So the child will that was the belief that before the eighth day or for the first 7 days, the child can return to where it came from. And so they would wait until the eighth day to show the child and announce the birth and everything. And then so that's when they do the ceremony and gather everybody, and people can come in and give presents and all that. So that's what the naming is all about. As I said, the father chooses the name, and then the traditional attire for that day could be kente, could be white because white signifies victory in our traditional culture. So the women actually go white. The mothers, the new mothers, actually go white. And then, so in the naming ceremony, as I said, they call on their ancestors by pouring libation, but it depends on the faith of the couple. Before the advent of the colonizers coming to our shores, it was pouring libation to thank the ancestors and to invite them to bless the child, and also dedicate the child to their service if they so please, and also ask the ancestors to guide that child on the path of life. And then they name the child and show the child's true nature and call the child 3 times. So if you were born on Sunday and you are, like, for example, a boy, you'll be named Kwesi. And if your father is Anochi or Nkrumah, your name will be called Kwesi Nkrumah, unless your father decides otherwise. Okay, so after that, then they'll put I call it the knowledge of, or not the knowledge of integrity, but the realization of integrity for the child. Yes, Kwame is on Saturday. Yeah, Kwame is on Saturday. So what they do is that they give the child water and alcohol, and then they tell the child, like, they just put a hand in the alcohol and put it on the tongue of the child and say, um, when you taste water, know that this is water. Then they'll put the water in the mouth of the child. Then they'll dip a hand in alcohol like this and put it on the tongue of the child and say, when you taste alcohol, know it's alcohol. So know the difference between water and alcohol. Then they'll bring milk and honey. Then they'll put the milk on the tongue of the child and say, know the difference between milk and know the difference between honey. And that is kind of like telling the child that when you grow up, you have to become a person of integrity. When you see white, it is white. When you see black, it is black. Don't mix the two and tell us that it is gray. So that is, a test or a call to integrity. It's a call to being objective about things. It's a call to living a life that is, worthy of emulation. So right from birth, you have been informed that you should acknowledge the differences in life. And when you see a spade, you call it a spade. You don't say it's a fork. Then the child is shown to everybody, and then from that time on, the mother will be required to be bringing the child out into the sun to bask in the sun from time to time. And so now, once that is done, the child becomes the how do you call it? The child becomes the child of the entire community. The community that was present at his or her naming suddenly feels that responsibility to look out for this child. So in Africa, you find that children live with other people, and the purpose of that is to kind of like help bring these children up, because we are a close knit community that care about helping each other. So the community comes together to kind of like protect and correct this child and bring the child up together. So from there, the child starts school, continues school, and gets to, let's say, the age of 16. When the child gets to the age of 16, in some other cultures, they do the puberty rites a bit early, like maybe 14 or 15 or so, some even 13. But in the Akan tradition, it's usually 16. When you're 16 years old, um, they do puberty rites celebration. So for me, like this, when I was 16, I was given an egg. Is it? I think 3 eggs to eat and make me. That the purpose of that was to make me fertile. Okay, so that's the purpose, to make you wholesome, to make you bring you into womanhood. In some cultures, um, it is done when you have your first menstruation as a woman, and then as a man, it is, I think, is also done at a certain age. Um, they introduce you to the community as leaving childhood into adulthood. After that, but I have to find the names because it has different names in every culture. So after that, then you continue education. Before the advent of the slavers, it was informal education. There was education because if your father was a fisherman, you go with your father to sea. If your father was a potter, you or a craftsman or what, you follow him to his trade. So I remember my grandmother very well. Mami Abna Kopina. She's my grandmother. Well, she was my grandmother because she's currently no more. And she used to make earthenware pots. Earthenware pots. Give me a second, I'll show you what the earthenware pots look like. Give me 1 second. So this is an earthenware pot. Okay, made. It's made with clay. And my grandmother used to make it. It's used for grinding tomato. Before, when we didn't have blenders and all, this was the most important tool to have in your kitchen. So my grandmother was excellent and skilled at this earthenware pots, making them. And if your mother was into that, then that's where you're going to grow up and become. If your father was a carpenter, building houses or making things, then that's what you were going to become. But it was not like structured as in you go from here to the university and all, but we had an educational system which was informal. And so you go on to that, and you would only be required or accepted. Is the tribal name also incorporated in the name of the child. Oh, yes, Terence, yes. The tribal name is incorporated into the name of the child. Um, your father comes from a certain tribe, and the name, your father's father, it continues, your father's father. So it continues like that. So, for example, if your father is from the Ashanti kingdom, and his name could be Boateng. If your father is an Ewe, his name could be Amegashi, or an Ewe name. So the Ewe name traces back to the tribe that his father and his father and his father comes from. So when you mention your name, you can be traced back to your family home. Even up till today, there are certain names that when you mention, even in the city today, there are names that when you mention, everybody will know where your lineage comes from. So, for example, the Bediakuns, because when you say um, like the Bunsu, we have Bunsu brothers, we have the Bediakun and sons, we have a lot of them. And so when you mention the name, these are families that have been in existence, wealthy families that have been in existence for a long time. So, and they all trace back to the tribe that you come from. So tribe plays an important role in the name of the child. So there you have it. So once you acquire a skill, learn a trade from your father or your mother or whatever, then you are regarded as a man who can uh, you know get married and have children and contribute to the society. Some of the men are farmers. Their fathers are farmers, and they go into farming. They go into farming, and once they have children, their children also start going to the farm. So some families were known to be blacksmiths, other families were known to be fishermen, other families were known to be farmers, and that's how it all comes together. Now, okay, this is getting interesting. So, I'm about to tell you something very important when it comes to the marriage side. So let's say you've seen a girl, you're interested in her. Mostly before the advent of, like, when the culture and the tradition was rich. If a guy saw a girl that he was interested in, well, you could be friends and all, but what you do is you go and tell, like, you're a man, you saw a woman, you're interested in her. You go and tell your mother, Mom, I saw Openi Kojo's daughter. She's very beautiful and I would like to marry her. Then your mother will go to the mother of the child and say, well, my son saw your daughter and we are interested, would like to marry her. And then the woman would then inform her husband that, oh, mommy so and so came here today and she's interested. She says her son is interested in our daughter. So once the information is passed on, then the father and the mother will call the child or the girl and ask, um, this family is asking for your hand in marriage. Are you interested? If the girl says yes, I'm interested. Now the investigation into the background of the one asking for the girl's hand in marriage begins. So the family investigates the background of the man if they don't know him that well. And sometimes even if they do, they know about your family, but they don't know about your life. So they'll kind of like um, go and ask about the man from the community and say that maybe Kojo came asking for our daughter's hand in marriage and we would like to know who he is. So they'll do the investigation. And after the investigation, um, they will send a message back to the family of the man and tell the man that, okay, I think our daughter is interested. We are interested. So come and do your knocking. So the knocking is the father of the man and the man will go to the house. So let's say the family of the man, maybe the father, the mother, the uncle, will go to the house of the woman with a drink, maybe schnapps or champagne or whatever the requirements are. Then they will say that okay, um so we saw this beautiful flower in your home and we're interested to pluck it. Then they will sit down and accept the drinks. Then they will give the man a date to come back and do the engagement, the actual traditional marriage. So before the man leaves, they give the man a list of items to bring with him called the dowry. Yes. Terence is asking, does the father have to pay for a dowry? Well, in Ghana. It shouldn't be the father, as we know, because if a man is of age and he decides to get married, it is assumed that he's finished learning his trade and therefore he can actually afford to take care of a woman. That's why he's going in with the dowry to marry the girl. The things the family are asking for, people mistaken it to, and in English they call it bride price because they didn't understand the morale behind the family asking you for those things. It's to prove that you can provide for the child or for their child, which is the girl you're interested in to marry. So they would give you a list called the dowry and you would prepare for it. In this modern day, I'm sure most fathers may pay for the dowry, but traditionally the man is supposed to pay for that dowry, including buying the ring. The man is supposed to buy the ring. So they'll give you the list, and the list includes a lot of things. It includes beads because African beads is a sign of fertility, it's a sign of beauty, and it's something like a romantic attraction between a man and a woman. If there's waist on the beads of an African woman, it kinds of gives. There's something about. I'm sure you guys will know that there's something about covering up and not covering up so much that it's quite sometimes attractive to men. I don't know. So the bead is also serves as a covering or for her. Okay, it's complicated. It's a cultural thing, but the beads is important. Well, it's important to African men. I don't know about men from other cultures, but for an African man, when his wife or he has a woman with beads, that is very intimate for him and her. So, and it also kind of signifies femininity, a woman in her total femininity. So this beads that I'm wearing is different from the waist beads, but it's something like this, like different kinds of beads, you know, usually different kinds. These are very tiny beads, as you can see, but it's all handmade. It's of very good quality and they have different colors. So they have the type for this one and then they have the types for the waist beads. And you wear under your clothes. So it's supposed to be private for you and what I mean. So you buy beads and then you add pieces of cloth because when your wife comes home, you don't want her to be naked. You want her to be well clothed. You want the community to know that you're taking good care of her. They will ask for certain tools. So before the advent of the slave trade and colonialism, there were things that were included in a dowry, like palm wine. Palm wine is a delicacy. Also included in the dowry, there were things like tools for learning the trades that was there. So, for example, if the person was your father was a kente weaver, maybe they would require that you put something about that in the list, so that when the woman comes to you, she becomes productive. She doesn't become a burden on you. So all of in this modern age, they ask for sewing machines, they ask for all kinds of things. And once you come with your family with a dowry, there is the engagement. And it's beautiful. It's just an explicit display of culture, beauty of the African traditional cultures and beliefs, and the celebration, the importance of family, the celebration of the onslaught of a new, you know, family that is about to be created, and it's a happy moment. So there's kente in the Akan traditional culture. Kente is a cloth that signifies wealth, signifies power, it signifies prosperity, it signifies uh, you know fertility and abundance. It also signifies victory. So the kente cloth is a very important cloth on such occasions. And the woman will be cladded, the man will be cladded. They mostly dress like kings and queens to depict our rich culture and the royalty of the African tribes and kingdoms that past and gone. So after that, immediately the ceremony is over and the traditional marriage is done. Um, the family of the woman comes together with the family of the man, and they pack all the woman's belongings and they go. So there will be emissaries from the man's family, emissaries, sorry, from the woman's family, and they will have to accompany the woman to the man's house. Previously there were no vehicles, so some of these women walk like 2 days to get to their husband's house home. Some of them walk half a day, depending on how far the man or where the man is from. So there was this rule that says you have to be careful which tribe or which culture you marry from, because when you go that far and something bad is happening to you, nobody is going to be there to help you out. So it's going to be just you. So they had this song that was passed down from culture to culture, and I'll sing it for you. It says, a cry tintia warrior minko, a cry tintia warrior minko. Semi yami kona same bitimi chirame yeden. Semi yami kona same bitimi chirame yeden. A cry tintia warrior minko. So what this song is all about is that a marriage that is so far away, a marriage that I have to journey so far away, I will not do. Because if I go and something happens to my parents, how am I supposed to know about it? How am I supposed to help my parents? If I go and something happens to me, if they kill me or something happens to me in the man's family, how are my parents supposed to come and help me? So um the acquaintance in our Minko means so some of these experiences kind of like formed the culture and kind of brought about the tribal or ethnic divide that exists till today. Those are just some of the reasons why certain tribes decided not to marry from certain tribes. One, because of the distances. Two, I think it's also because of the wars at the time. Every tribe is trying to expand into a clan, and every clan is trying to expand into an empire. So that's how it starts. So then, let's say you've successfully married and then you've moved to your husband's home. The two of you come together as one, you get married, and in the olden days, there was, well, divorces were rare because the whole marriage thing is between two families. When you marry the woman and her family. And that is not to say you are responsible for them, but it's just to tell you that the family are going to be there to support you until, you know, let's say modern day, what we call modern day, family coming in when there's a problem in the marriage was never seen as intrusive. It wasn't. It's just modern day kind of system that makes it looks like it was intrusive. But what it was that there was a support system. If there was a problem in the marriage, the uncles will come, the aunties will come, they will sit you down, they will talk to you, they will take the woman. Sometimes the woman's mother will come, take the daughter home and talk to her about how she's handling things in the marriage. And if the man is also important, the men in the family come together and they find traditional remedies for that. The family essentially made sure the marriages succeeded over a long period of time. So divorces was never a thing. The family would only allow to divorce you if your husband was abusive in terms of laying hands on you, or had even become a drunk or whatever, you know. And since the family was there to support you, it wasn't, it was, marriages succeeded a lot. And you wouldn't find young women um without husbands. No, because everybody was catered for, like, you know, we marry our daughter to you, you marry, and most of it was also arranged marriages, and women were cared for. Every father was accounted for, and for every child. In this modern day, a man will just marry you and sometimes won't even do their responsibility to you or to the children. And it's easy for a man to just get up and say, I'm done. It's easy for a woman to just get up and say, I'm done. There's no way I'm doing this marriage anymore just because you said something and I didn't like it. But, formerly, marriage was more of a commitment, you know, from both sides. And that is the wealth of the African, culture, because marriage is between you, the man, and the woman and her family, you know. So, and the woman also takes the man as a husband and the man's family. So the whole entire family are her husband, and the entire family of the woman, are his wife. So it brought respect, mutual respect, it brought responsibility, and the family unit was solid, tight, and stable, you know. But today we have over, like, westernized. The African culture is getting over westernized. So you don't, that rich net kind of family system is kind of like breaking down. I mean, it's not entirely broken, but you can see that pieces of Western culture has crept in, and people are now trying to be subsistent, trying to be subsistent family. And subsistent family is not the African way. So, well, it's in Africa, it's never really been weird to live in your mom's house or your dad's house, even after 25 years old or after 30 years old. Because if I have a house, why should my child go out and rent and all that? And but I think in the Western world, it's quite weird to be living at home after that age. But in Africa, it is not. It's actually a way the family supports each other. I mean, in today's modern world, it is weird in Africa still for a married man to be living in the family house. People do that a lot, but it's not something that's preferred. It's just because Western influence again on the African culture. So after all of that, you have your kids, they also start their cycles, and then you grow old, and then you die. So once you die, another process begins to say goodbye to you. So what will happen is that once you die, your wife or the wife or the husband uh, notifies the family of the deceased. They in turn notify their kin. Their kin in turn notify the chief or the Ebushapeni or the head of the clan. And then the head of the clan informs the king or the chief or the paramount chief of the tribe. And they come but when they go to inform, you have to go with drink. So if it's palm wine or African gin or African whiskey, well, there's African whiskey called akpeteshi, akpeteshi or ogogulo. Ogogulo is another name for um, African whiskey brewed in Africa. And so they will go to the chief's palace, or it starts with the man or the woman going to the deceased spouse's family with a drink to say that this is what has happened, because it's sad news. People want to drink and cry and all that. And then they'll go to, so it keeps going until the chief is informed of your demise, and then they intend set a date to sort of celebrate 1 week. Your 1 week celebration is a rite of passage back into the ancestral world. So what they do is that um, on the 7 days, yes, 7 days. See, 7 days after you die, they meet and then they do certain rites so that the soul or the ghost of the deceased person can find rest in the ancestral world. So they kind of do a passage rite for the deceased so they can go and rest. So after the deceased, has been given the rite of passage to the ancestral world, then they set a date for the final goodbye where they lay the body in state for everybody to come and see you for the last time and say their goodbyes and cry and perform the funeral rites and then put you to sleep. So that is the African way, the cycle of life for the African. In our culture, every stage of life comes with a celebration, and all these stages that I have talked about comes with a celebration. It comes with merrymaking, and then it comes with giftings. And the only time that the merrymaking is not done is even at funerals. But trust me, even at funerals, the way it's done, people sing and dance and drink at funerals. So funeral this day, today's funeral is like it's like merrymaking. It's like party. It's like party. So the every stage of African life or African you know cultural passage stage is climaxed with celebration. So they keep celebrating. So yes, Terence and the I don't know if you're here with me and I've not acknowledged you, you can say hi and I'll acknowledge you. Say it's question time. I'm done with the stages. So if you have any questions for me, I'm ready to take it. So from the stages, you can think about it. Okay, Terence says, Kente cloth is beautiful. Yes, it is. I love kente. And Terence is also asking, do you think Western influence is erasing African culture at an alarming rate? Um, for me, I would say yes. I would say yes because before the advent of the Western culture, every woman had the family system was very strong. You know, uh, your mother can identify a woman and tell you this woman will be good for you. And how does your mother find out how this woman is good for you? One, her mother, like your mom, is her mom's friend, and she visits their home every time. And as she visits their home, she starts to look at this young lady. One, does she help her mother? Is she respectful to her mother? Is she clean? How does she speak? Is she cultured? Does she take her trade seriously? Is she humble? Is she respectful? So your mom visiting her friend has her eye on her daughter, studying her, looking at the way she does her things. Is she clean? Does she take her bath twice a day? And all of that. So your mom is looking at all of that for you as a wife. Is she hardworking? Is she lazy? Like as she visits her friend's home, day in, day out, she's observing her growth. Does she hang around the corners with other boys? Or does she come home and help her mother and go to bed? And is she, so mothers would just keep looking out for a wife for their sons. So in the olden days, mothers were very important in identifying wives for their children. And so I am a mother, and if I had a daughter in those days, I'd also be training my child up in a way that she can cook, she can clean, because those days the home was the office of the woman, and the field for tilting and farming and all of that was the office of the man. So there were gender roles. So the mother's responsibility is to train her daughter to be able to be a good wife, a good mother. Um, the thing about gender equity and all of that, I don't know, in the Akan culture, women were powerful. In Akan culture, women were strong. Because I know you've heard about the story of Nana Yasantua, the Queen Mother of Ghana, who led um, 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 a rebellion war against the British when they came to Ghana for the slave trade. So when they tell you, like, they gave their people up to be sold into slavery, no. Nana Yasantua, when Osei Tutu Nana Osei Tutu was captured in a war against the British. I don't know if it's the Saguarenti War or something, but the Ashanti king was captured in a war, and Nana Yaa Santua, the queen mother at the time, you know, who had a close relationship with the Amazonians, the women of war, led her people, her men, into war. This woman was fierce. Danaya Santua, like she was fierce, like one of the fiercest queens in modern, day history. Because we think about the arrival of the slave masters and all of that. Well, not slave masters. I keep saying this: the slavers or the uh, colonizers. Um, they never wrote down our stories. They didn't tell the better side of us because it will look bad on them. Like these people are so fierce and they are so protective of their children that there had to be several wars. And how were they able to conquer Nanaya Santua? Because you know what? That woman was so smart. She managed to realize, although she didn't even understand the technology, she managed to realize that these people speak through wires back to England. and she set her people up to cut all the telephone lines that the British were using to communicate with England. They cut all communication lines. They block all access to the castle, the Osu Castle, and you know, staged a siege. Actually, they fought the British, pushed them back, barricaded them in the castle, and waited to starve them out so they can come out and then finish them. If they had been able to finish them at that time in the Nana Yaa Asantewaa War, that would have been the end. But they managed to find a way to escape through escape routes in the castle to go and call for backup, and that is what caused Nana Yaa Asantewaa to lose the war, because this time around the British came with weapons, bombs, and other things, and laid waste to the Ashantis during that time. So Nana Yaa Asantewaa is a fierce queen, and her story, I say, needs to be investigated. Her story needs to be told. She's one of the superheroes of Africa. If you go back to the ancient empire of Ghana, there was this mad princess called Kunata, who was also the mouthpiece of the gods. And this woman was a warrior that stood by her king and helped fight to defeat the Songhai Empire in one of their wars. So if you go down to the history of Africa and their women, African women have never really been so marginalized as they will have you think, because we've been powerful from the onset till today. Till today in Ashanti Kingdom, kingmakers are women. Kingmakers are women. The Queen Mother and her consorts. The Queen Mother leads the installment of a new king in the Ashanti Kingdom till today. So women have been on the forefront of things. The only thing that sought to discriminate against the African woman was the onslaught of formal education. The onslaught of formal education saw women, kind of, how do you call it, left behind the curtain, and men went forward, because it was in our culture for the man to be responsible and support the home. And even within our culture, women went out to work and men went out to work. But it was when the Christian Bible was brought, and the Christian Bible says a man will labor to feed the family, and a man will sweat to feed the family, and a woman will labor to bring forth a child. Those roles became explicit. But in the real African culture, it was different. Okay, let me take a few comments. Terrence say, even in America, we fellowship after the funeral with lots of food. Okay, that's interesting to know, because there are similarities. You see the similarities in the cultures. Okay, he says, I see a lot of African American women marrying African men, but not so many African American men marrying African women. Is the African family less likely to accept and accept African American marrying their daughter? Well, Terrence, no. The African family will not have any problem. Will not have any problem. Not at all. Unless they have reasons to not like the attitude or the character of the person. For example, if the person is known to be a drug dealer or something, or in bad company, or is not doing something right with their life, then the parents will have concern. But Africans are not this, African culture does not discriminate against guests. So if you're seen as a guest or from another culture coming into our culture, what they don't like is when you come to and you try to tell them that what you know is better than what they have. Then maybe you may not have the experience may not be that much, you know. But when you're a foreigner coming to marry into the African culture, you would have no problems at all. African family is a very you don't understand. Like, see, that's where I see the divide because there's this notion that Africans do not accept African Americans, but it's never true. Like most Africans who haven't even traveled enough to know the challenges of African Americans, how can they not like you? How can you not have? I see what some people post, even on my channel, some of the comments saying that Africans refer to African Americans as drug dealers and as gangsters, and that is not the narrative of Africans. That is not how we perceive our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. That is some people who have access to internet and trying to divide us, posting such comments. But just as I told you that when an African man is going to marry an African woman, it is customary for the family to investigate the man's background. Don't think it is discriminatory when the family of the girl or the daughter that you want to go and marry, when the family wants to do a background check on you to find out, are you in modern day, the things important things to parents are, is he educated? Does he have a well-meaning job? Is he a stable man? Has he handled the responsibility before? Can he handle our daughter? Is he really into our daughter? Is he not coming to have, waste her time and dump her in the end? So those are the things that are important to parents. And so today, some parents would like to know. So, parents, to answer your question, an African family will absolutely not have a problem with an African American coming to marry their daughter. But when you're coming to marry an African daughter, I think this is where African women are beautiful. Okay. African women are beautiful and seem more dedicated to their men. That appeals to me. Oh, okay. Thanks for that comment, Terence. I think it's also has a lot to do. I also think it has to do. Sorry, I needed to check something. I think it has to do with the upbringing. You know, tilted. Oh, yeah. Just 1 second. I think I might have. Let me see. I need to. Oh, I made a mistake. I wanted to show a comment that Terence sent, but by mistake, I kind of like hid it or something. But let me read it because it's in grayscale. So let me read it. Terence said, African women are beautiful and seem more dedicated to their men. That appeals to me. Well, yeah, because of um, the culture. But I think that most women that see their mothers and fathers at home and then they learn from how their mothers treat their fathers would have an example on how you should be dedicated to your man. I would also like to say that most African women today are more into the romantic stuff. They like it. And I think most women across cultural divide are into men, like men who will give them attention and all that. So yeah, so across the divide, I think that African women have this homely kind of motherly kind of, you know, I'm not saying every woman, every African woman, don't get me wrong, because you may find an African woman who don't think that the African culture is, and may be dressing like Beyonce and be trying to curse in their language when you're talking to you. So the over modernization, the influence of Western culture is alarming these days because a lot of it is kind of like taken out. But not to say that there isn't African women who are also homely, welcoming, and knows how to keep a man. So yeah, so it's um I would say yes. That's how the African woman, the African woman is trained up to be to know how to cook. I tell you, most African women, like I would say 90% of African women actually cook. Um, Clean. You're supposed to know how to clean. So when I was like 5 years old, I started learning how to wash dishes, how to clean the kitchen, and how to cook from age 5 years. That's how early my mom started training me to do these things. Ah, so yeah, that's it. So I want to see more questions so I can answer your questions. But Terence, thank you because you keep this conversation interesting. Your questions are very interesting, and I enjoy answering them and reading them. Yeah. So those are the stages in the transitions in the life of the average African man. These days, it's not really done because of Christianity. The book of colonization, the book that was edited to suit slave trade and colonization. Well, that book has stolen so much from the African culture. You would not believe it. Thank you, Terence. Terence says, I enjoyed conversing with you. Thank you, Terence. Thank you. I also love having you on the live shows. And I'm just praying that we are able to gather more subscribers because these conversations must be had. That is the only way we can bridge the gap of the divide of Africa and then the entire diaspora. Oh, okay, the thief. Terence, the thief is in the house. So hey, welcome the thief. But we still have like about 30 minutes to go. So you're late, but you're not too late. You're not too late. So let me refresh for you. We've been talking about uh, um, bridging the cultural divide or the disconnect between Africans and African Americans. And we've been talking about the various transitions, the life cycle of the African culture, the life cycle. So when you're born, there's a naming ceremony. And then when you get to your teenage years, puberty is called puberty. When you get to your puberty, when you start growing hairs in your armpit, and you start men is hair in their armpits, their faces, and their chest. Then that is the measure that you're a man. You're growing into manhood, so you're initiated into manhood. When the woman menstruates, she's also initiated into womanhood. Then from there, marriage. And we explain that the parents of each family would have to have a communication and then background search done and the marriage carried through. And then when someone dies, they also kind of do the same back and forth and lay you to rest. So that's what we've been talking about. And if you look into the comment section, you can see that Terence has been an important part of the conversation, coming in with questions and answering and all that. So if you have anything to ask, from childbirth to puberty to marriage to death and then the whole cycle, I am here to answer such questions. So we have 30 more minutes for questions and answers and all that. So do not worry. This is a conversation. Yes. So the thief says, I hope I'm saying your name right though. Terence, I know is right. But the thief, am I right? Please let me know if I'm calling your name right. The thief, the thief, the thief. Or how do I say it? Okay. He says, yes, we need strong families. Yes. So the African families are like, close knit. Okay. Thank you, the thief, for that. So the African family is close knit. And you know, is that close knittedness that helped us survive all the plagues and all the slavery and all the onslaught of the West onto our culture and to our persons, our systems. They try to crush our systems, but we come right back up because our culture is solid, you know, and our family system is still tight. So imagine the girl living with me and my daughter, yeah, um, with all the hardship in her family. She has so many siblings that it's even difficult for her to get noticed. So when she came to live with me, I am taking the role of the motherhood, or have been taking the role of her mother, and I'm training her to know how to cook and how to clean and how to like keep her home and be a girl, at the same time giving her an education so that she becomes a powerful young woman, educate. We are friends, but now where our relationship is beyond friendship. We've gone beyond that because we do things for each other that it's only blood siblings that would do for each other. We have a lot of that here, and I believe you guys have that same system where you have friends who are more like brothers. So you may think someone is a lie. Oh, she said that was the brother and it wasn't her brother. She ended up being some guy she knows. Well, you see, sometimes it's like that. If I tell everyone that, yeah, oh, yeah, it's not my daughter, I don't know from anywhere, like how would yeah feel? When I bring Kylie close to me and say, Kylie is my daughter, I love her, but Ya is not my daughter. How is Ya feeling at the time? She's feeling rejected. She's feeling like she's not a part of the family. And so I cannot introduce her as not my trying to be honest about who she is to me. I can say, oh, that's my niece. And that's my niece, extend her some kind of a protection, my protection over her. So in the Western culture, I've just lied about who Ya is. But in the African culture, I have just protected Ya from people who will seek to do her harm because they know she's my niece and they dare not touch her. So when you don't understand how these things work, so if you ask me, oh, she's your niece, she's whose daughter? Then I come to say, oh, well, she's so and so and so, and I took her in, and so she's like a niece to me. So when you ask this question, you need to ask twice to really get it. To say, okay, is she like your brother, or she's a friend who is like a brother to you, or she's like a cousin who is like a brother to you? The culture tries to provide that cover for people to not get left out in the family system. So it is a very subtle thing. People don't talk about it. It's subtle, but it's there. So yeah, so that's an example. So yeah, would finally grow up not having the complex, the inferiority complex, like nobody wanted me and I suffered. No, because She gets the same attention I give to my daughter. I buy them the same kind of clothes sometimes, so she knows that she's with, though she's not with her mom, she's with family. And so that is the close knitness of the African culture, the African family. It is tight. So again, let me go to the comments and try to answer questions. I'm so excited to answer your questions every time. Okay. So I'm gonna give you guys a task. Any of you guess my age, how old I am? Like, can any of you guess that? So keep the guessing game coming. I'm going to see who gets close to that. So let me read from the comments. Um, so Terence says, or the thief says, yes, we need strong families. Yes, we do. Terence says, how do you feel about African brain drain? Okay, I'll talk about that. And then the thief says, yep, you say it right. Thank you, guys. Okay, brain drain. You see, when I think about brain drain, I just don't think about it, on its own, isolated. Please hold on. Kylie, yeah. My girls are gone, they're sleeping. Okay. So when I talk about, I just wanted to check on them to make sure they're sleeping. So brain drain, I look at it in so many angles because first of all, to understand the whole thing about brain drain, you have to understand the kind of system that colonialism brought, the kind of division colonialism brought, the kind of institutionalized policies that ensured that Africa is deliberately being made poor. Africans, systems that are deliberately keeping us poor, making us poor, and keeping us in the poverty. That is, if you have that understanding, like at the back of your mind, if you have that backdrop of how they just came in, carved Africa up like a sport, and laid their own boundaries and put in systems. Oh, Terence thinks I'm 19. That is an amazing compliment. That's a compliment, Terence, because you are so far away from my age. You don't even know. So he thinks I'm 19. Woo! In the comments, an African American woman visited Ghana 20 years ago. When she landed, she said she felt this sense. She felt the sense of peace and felt like she was visiting her grandmother. She never left Ghana and now teaches there. See, that that is the story of many African Americans. Look, even Western Europeans, that's been their story. They come to Africa, they see how peaceful people are, and they kind of like never leave. And if Ghanaians hadn't really fought and struggled to get them out of Africa, I guess what? They would have stayed and they would have continued to pillage the whole entire continent. So that is it. Yeah. When you come home, you feel a sense of like abode within you. Because okay, let me ask you guys, have you ever been to a country where there were black people everywhere? Did you ever feel like you were black? Or did you feel like you were a man or you were a woman? That's the feeling. Okay, so um, have you had the experience? Have you been to a country or a place where it's like you look around and you're the only black person, how did it feel? Immediately you know you're black because everybody else looks different. When you step on the shores of Africa, you realize that you are home because everybody looks like you. Like maybe 90% of the people you see looks like you. People are not looking at you weird. You feel the acceptance. When people say you are welcome, you feel the energy that they mean it. Yeah, you know. Okay, so Theron says in Africa, in America, we have a subconscious feeling of second class. You see, that's the thing. It's true. I've traveled out too, and when I landed in Germany, I immediately realized that, hey, I'm a foreigner. I'm somewhere else. No one smiling at you. No sense of welcomeness to you. And when people look like you, it feels more like, what is she doing here? As opposed to when you come to Africa, people say, Akwa, but welcome to Ghana, and they give you a hug. That is real. Oh, my battery is running low, but let's just hope. That is real. Like when they give you a hug and tell you you're welcome home, that is real. That is reality. That is reality, people. They're going to tell you that you're welcome and they're going to open their doors to you. People say good morning to you and ask you how are you doing. And if you tell them you're not good, they're going to ask you, "Oh, really? Why? What happened?" And people genuinely care. If it's something they can help you with that doesn't have to do with money, they already do it. If it has to do with money and they cannot help you, these days everybody's struggling. So you might not get really help with cash, but when it comes to helping you find somebody to come help you at home, for you to pay them something, you don't have to go to an agency to kind of like go and pay money and stuff. You get people to help you. Talk to someone and help you find. You're looking for a good school for your kid. People are going to tell you, "Oh, that is a good school." No, 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 this school is not good. Like you get help. And people are always okay. Forget about the airport. I told you the other time when you get to the airport, everybody comes, rushes you, and they're looking for money and they're exorbitant price and everything. But when you come in and you humble yourself and you allow the culture to slip into you and you connect with the people and all of that, the help, you'll be amazed at how many people just want to help you out. My factory got demolished, and you'd be amazed the help I got from passerbys. Buyers. One day, I would upload the horrific footage of my factory being demolished. I would upload it, but people helped. People helped free of charge, removed as much as they could remove from the factory, and I didn't have to pay them anything. They came in to help me. So that's the culture. And I'm so sorry for the African American community and Black people from all places. Um, and hey, guys, if you like this video, please like the video. If you like this conversation, please like the video. And um, what was I saying? It's like I'm sorry for all that you guys have to endure. Police being called on you while sleeping, while going to the shop, while driving your own car, whilst living your life. I'll just say sorry because I don't have to experience that here. Here, I'm a woman. Here, I'm a sourcing specialist. Here, I have a daughter. Here, she goes to school. Here, I live at home. And I don't have to worry about anything. If I have money, I can go out, have fun. I am welcome in every restaurant, every hotel. I'm not going to be denied access purchasing property anywhere in this country. in affluent areas, non-affluent areas. Like, um, I have land in my hometown, but even that, I bought land from in Accra here, and I'm free. The price of freedom is, you cannot compare that to anything. People fought and died to have their freedom. Kunta Kinte fought from the day he was dropped on the shores of Virginia. He fought and fought and fought till his limbs were all cut off and his tongue removed, and his life essentially ended. That's the only time when he died. That's the only time that, he stopped fighting. So we have about 10 minutes more for this show. And thank you so much, Terence, the tip, and you guys. Like, thank you for joining me. Please share this video when we are done. Share it so that people can also, other brothers and sisters in the diaspora can also have the opportunity to hear about these conversations, because they need to have it. They need to know. See, so I just keep saying that I'm sorry about all that you have to go through for your children. The disgusting thing for me in all of this is when an African American child will have to grow out of the utopia they live in, thinking they're equal to their white friends, when they get their first realization that they're black. Imagine how terrible that must feel for a child to know that, well, after all, this world is set against me. It's terrible. But a Ghanaian child will never have to face this. An African child living in Africa will never have to realize I'm black. The only time the African child will realize they are black is maybe when they learn that from books or when they watch it from TV shows and other things. But it's never going to be like a first-hand experience for an African child to think they are black. In that sense, we all see our color and it's normal. There is not that racial divide. There's nothing holding you back because you are, like, African or you're black. So in Africa, there's no color. We are people. So imagine that you can live in Africa, live in Ghana, wake up in the morning, go out. Police people, like, I have police friends. Like, when I drive from the house to my office, I wave to about 2 or 3 policemen who are really nice. And when I have a problem, will come in quickly just to assist me. When there's too much traffic on the way, I can call and say, hey, why is there, like, traffic police? I can call them and say, hey, why is there so much traffic? And they're like, okay, which side is the traffic? Oh, it's on this side. Okay, don't worry, we're going to make sure you guys get to work. That is the relationship. Me, when you live in Africa, if you have ever experienced these things in America and you come to Ghana, there is no way in hell you're going back. You might only go back because you haven't planned well and your finances is not that in order, so you may have to go back, work, save money, and plan your move. But when you come and you meet the right people, life is free. Life is accepting of every bit of who you are. The only thing people may not like about you, maybe if you're wayward, if you're, like, into certain behaviors that are not accepted by society. But even that, people will not write you off. They'll try to make you understand how the society thinks. So, having the African experience is so important for all people living in the diaspora. Come home and feel love, feel the love, see the development, okay? See the infrastructural development, the technological advancement and development. Like, don't kid yourself. They sit there and they say Africa is a diseased continent. Really? But what is the ExxonMobils and the Totals and the Shells? What are they doing in the sick, diseased continent. What are they doing? You guys, you gotta come home. That's what I always say. You have to. You're African American. You've never traveled. Go get a passport and book for Ghana today. I can help you get a good Airbnb. I can help you get a good short stay accommodation. You don't have. It doesn't. Traveling to Ghana doesn't have to be expensive. The ticket might be expensive, but the whole entire show you can manage it. Yeah. So let me go to the comments. So the tip says, LOL, police calling us in our own driveways, selling water or our own apartment or house. Yeah, people calling the police. Yes, people will call on you. Even barbecuing, police get called on you. And Terence says, in America, we have the government to fall back on. That has hurt our our sense of unity. But in Africa, the people have each other and the community is stronger. Very true. Very, very true, Terence. Very true. Very true statement. Very true statement. The thieves say, yep, the sense of community is so strong. It is. It is. It is. The thief said, so so many whites coming to Africa. Yes, they are. So African Americans, people of African descent, brown people, chocolate people. Like, why are you not coming? You, why are you going to Europe and why are you going to all these places? Like, you have to also come. White people are coming. Westerners are coming. They've seen the rich culture and they like it and they're appreciating it. Why not we appreciate our own? Yes, come and see what's going on. Like, come and meet people like myself. Like, look, I'm just an average Joe. I'm not like even part of the top 1%. I'm just an average person. Okay. And I have the access to even come on YouTube and, like, I'm a single mom. I work. I have a 7 to 5 job, and I'm an average Joe. So come in and see how Westerners are making money. Arabs, Lebanese are making money. And okay, so guys, I would have to end our session here. Our 1 hour 30 minutes is up, and my battery is dying. So I'll come your way again. I don't know if we can do this tomorrow or the next, but I'll come your way again, and we'll have another topic to discuss. So please inform your friends and family to be online right about 6 p.m., like 2 hours from now. Yeah, so that we can have this conversation. I love you. Keep Stay tuned and keep watching the live shows and my videos, and invite friends to subscribe, and let's keep the conversation going. Mwah! Put it in your plan to come to Africa, come to Ghana and see for yourself. Your girl Ejewa got your back. Stay blessed. Cheers. Bye. Woo!